The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Imperial dreadnought Eternal Dominance. Admiral Ox rose from his command chair, his three eyes fixed on the main display screen. Something had entered Sector 447, and that should have been impossible. The sector was empty space, used only for military training exercises. Nothing lived there. Nothing passed through there. Until now. "Report," Ox demanded, his voice carrying across the silent bridge. The sensor officer's hands moved quickly over his console. "Sir, we have detected one vessel, unknown design, unknown origin. It does not match any ship in our database." Ox felt a strange sensation in his chest. In 200,000 years, the Empire had cataloged every intelligent species in the galaxy, every ship type, every weapon system. Their records were complete. They had to be. The Empire controlled 847 star systems. They knew everything. "Run the scan again," Ox ordered. "Check for errors." The officer worked in silence for several minutes. Finally, he looked up, his expression troubled. "No errors, Admiral. The ship is real, but it is not in our records." Across the galaxy, on a small research vessel called the Spirit of, Captain Han was having a very bad day. His ship had been exploring empty space for 3 months, mapping stellar formations and collecting data on dark matter flows. The mission was supposed to be boring, safe, routine. But now, 6 massive warships surrounded his vessel, and they did not look friendly. "Tell me you're getting something from the translator," said, gripping the arms of his chair. Doctor looked up from her console, her face pale. "I'm trying, Captain, but their language is completely unknown. The computer is working on it, but it needs more time." The communication system crackled. Strange, harsh sounds filled the bridge. The translator worked frantically, piecing together meaning from context and mathematical patterns. Finally, broken words came through. "Surrender, immediately, resistance, termination." Felt cold. He had been a research captain for 15 years. He had never seen combat. He had certainly never been threatened with termination. "Try to respond. Tell them we're peaceful, we're scientists." Worked quickly, programming the computer to respond in the alien language. The message went out, but the response was immediate and clear. The 6 warships powered up their weapons. "Captain," Engineer Bin shouted from the engine room through the intercom. "They're targeting us, weapons charging." Had seconds to decide. His ship was not designed for combat. It had experimental shields, yes, but those were meant to protect against radiation and not military-grade weapons. Running was the only option. "Prepare for emergency jump," ordered. "Keep trying to communicate. Tell them we mean no harm." The first shot hit before could send another message. The Spirit of shook violently. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The lights flickered, but the shields held. Somehow, impossibly, they held. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominance, Admiral Ox stared in disbelief. The alien ship should have been destroyed. One shot from an Imperial cruiser could crack a moon, but the target's shields had absorbed the blast. The strange, flickering energy field around the small vessel was unlike anything in the Imperial database. "All ships fire at will," Ox commanded. "Destroy that vessel." 3 more shots hit the Spirit of. The shields flickered and weakened but did not break. Inside the ship, alarms screamed. The crew held onto their stations as the vessel shook like a toy in a storm. "Shields at 40%, Lieutenant reported from her station. "We can't take much more." "Jump now," shouted. "The calculations aren't complete," his voice came back strained. "If we jump blind, we could end up inside a star or—" "Jump now." The Spirit of did something they had never seen before. Its engines produced a strange, twisting field of exotic radiation. Space itself seemed to fold around the ship. And then, in a flash of light that blinded every sensor on every Imperial vessel, the human ship vanished. But it left something behind. The radiation from the jump washed over the fleet like a wave. It was not harmful, but it was powerful. Every sensor went offline. Every targeting system failed. 3 of the cruisers lost engine power completely. The others drifted helplessly, their crews working frantically to restore systems. Admiral Ox stood in the emergency lighting of his bridge, watching his officers scramble to repair their stations. For the first time in his 40-year career, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of the alien ship itself, but fear of what it represented. An unknown species, an unknown technology, an unknown threat. When the systems finally came back online an hour later, Ox opened a secure channel to High Command on the Imperial capital world. The face of Leggett appeared on the screen, his expression stern. "Admiral, your report better be worth interrupting my morning meal," said. Ox chose his words carefully. "Leggett, we have encountered an unknown species. They attacked without provocation." "They attacked you," interrupted. "Your dreadnought was attacked by an unknown vessel." "No, sir. We fired first as per protocol for unidentified vessels in military sectors. But their technology, Leggett, they have shields that can withstand our weapons. They have a jump drive that disabled 3 of my cruisers, and they are not in our records." Was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. "Not in our records, that is impossible." "I am looking at the damage reports right now, sir. It is very possible." "Then find them, Admiral. Find them and destroy them. No species can exist outside our knowledge. It threatens the very foundation of the Empire." Leaned forward, his eyes hard. "And Admiral, if you fail, it will be your last command." The screen went dark. Ox turned back to his officers. "Plot their trajectory, find where they went, and prepare the fleet for pursuit." Meanwhile, the Spirit of tumbled through space, its crew battered but alive. They had jumped to a random coordinate, hopping only to escape. Now they floated in the darkness between stars, damaged and alone. Captain pulled himself up from the floor where the jump had thrown him. Around the bridge, his crew did the same. "Status report. Is everyone alive?" One by one they answered, bruised, shaken, but alive. "How bad is the damage?" asked. The engineer's voice came through, tired and stressed. "Bad, Captain. The jump drive is barely holding together. The shields are recharging, but slowly. We have maybe 2 more jumps in us before the whole system fails." Nodded slowly, 2 jumps. And somewhere out there an entire empire was now hunting them. He looked at his crew, seeing the fear in their faces. They were scientists, not soldiers, but they would have to become something else now. They would have to survive. "Did you get anything useful from their transmissions?" asked. Doctor nodded, pulling up data on her screen. "Yes, Captain, enough to worry me. They called us an unrecorded species, and they mentioned something called an extinction protocol." The bridge fell silent. The meaning was clear. They had not just encountered an alien empire. They had encountered one that did not tolerate unknowns, one that would hunt them until they were destroyed. And somewhere, billions of light-years away, Earth continued its day, unaware that humanity had just been discovered by something vast, ancient, and hostile. The throne station orbited the capital world of the Empire like a small moon made of metal and power. Inside its command center, Archon listened to Admiral Ox's report with growing anger. His 4 arms crossed over his chest, his face dark with fury. "You allowed them to escape," said, his voice quiet and dangerous. "Their technology is unknown, Archon," Ox replied, his image on the communication screen showing clear stress. "We could not predict their capabilities. The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years because we know everything. We catalog everything. We control everything." Leaned forward. "And now you tell me there is a species that exists outside our knowledge. This is not acceptable." Leggett stood beside the Archon, studying the tactical data from the encounter. He was younger than more thoughtful. "Archon, perhaps we should approach this carefully. We do not know how many ships they have. We do not know where their home world is. A measured response. Measured turned his anger on. A single alien ship disabled 3 Imperial cruisers. What happens if there are 100 such ships? 1,000? No, Legate, we will not be measured. We will be absolute. Moved to the command console and entered a series of codes. Across the station, alarms began to sound. I am activating Battle Fleet Obsidian, 12 heavy cruisers, 40 destroyers, and the dreadnought World Ender. They will hunt this species and destroy them completely. No survivors, no wreckage. They will be erased from existence. Felt a chill run through him. Battle Fleet Obsidian had destroyed entire civilizations. It was the weapon the Empire used when they wanted to send a message to the galaxy. Archon, is such force truly necessary? We are talking about one small research vessel. We are talking about a threat to Imperial authority, said coldly. Now send the orders. Light years away, the spirit of drifted in the shadow of a dead planet. Captain sat in his quarters staring at a photograph of his family back on Earth, his wife, his 2 children. They were safe, he told himself. The aliens did not know where Earth was. They could not know. A knock on his door broke his thoughts. Come in. Lieutenant entered, carrying a data pad. Her usual calm expression was replaced with deep concern. Captain, I've been working on the alien transmissions. The translator has made progress. Good news? Asked, though he could tell from her face it was not. No, sir, handed him the data pad. I decrypted several messages between their ships and their command. Captain, they have classified us as an unrecorded species, and their orders are clear. They are going to apply what they call an extinction protocol. Felt his blood turn cold. Extinction protocol, that means. They are going to kill us all, not just our ship, our entire species. They are sending a battle fleet to hunt us down. Stood quickly, moving to his door. Get everyone to the bridge, now. 5 minutes later, the entire crew was assembled. Looked at their faces. 12 people. Scientists and engineers. Good people who had signed up for a peaceful mission and had instead found themselves at the center of an interstellar war. You have all heard the situation by now, said. The alien empire is sending a massive fleet to find and destroy us. We have 2 options. We can try to hide and hope they never find us, or we can warn Earth. Doctor spoke up. If we contact Earth, won't that lead them directly to our home world? It might, admitted. But if we don't warn Earth and they find us anyway, humanity will have no time to prepare. At least this way, Earth has a chance. Engineer raised his hand. Captain, I've been thinking. The alien ships use something called a quantum communication network. I saw it in their system architecture when they tried to scan us. If we could tap into that network, we could send our message without revealing Earth's location. Can you do it? Asked. Shrugged, maybe. If Doctor helps me with the alien technology, and if Lieutenant can keep cracking their codes, and if we get very lucky. Then do it, ordered. We have one job now, get this information home. For 3 days, the crew worked around the clock. They studied every scrap of data from the alien encounters. They decoded transmissions. They mapped the quantum network, and slowly they found a way in. But as they worked, Battle Fleet Obsidian was getting closer. The Imperial fleet had spread out across the sector, using long-range sensors to search every system, every planet, every asteroid field. They were methodical, patient, deadly. On the bridge of the dreadnought World Ender, Fleet Commander On studied the search patterns. He was a veteran of 50 campaigns. He had destroyed 12 species that had dared to rebel against the Empire. This hunt would be no different. Commander, we have a possible contact, his sensor officer reported. Weak energy signature near the 4th planet of System 447b. Move to intercept, On ordered. All ships battle formation. If it is them, I want them destroyed before they can escape. Aboard the Spirit of alarms suddenly blared. Looked up from her console, her face white. "Captain, they found us. Multiple ships moving fast. They'll be here in 20 minutes. "How many?" asked, already knowing the answer would be bad. 52 ships, sir, including one massive dreadnought. The bridge was silent. 52 ships against one damaged research vessel. There was no fight to be had here, only death. "Is the message ready?" asked quietly. "Yes, Captain. I just need 2 more minutes to upload it to their network." "You have 1 minute, then we jump." "But Captain, the calculations." 1 minute. His fingers flew across his console. The data packet was ready. Information about the Empire, their language, their weapons, their fleet movements, and most importantly, their intention to exterminate humanity. All of it compressed and encrypted, ready to be shot through the alien quantum network directly to Earth. "Upload complete," said. "Earth will have the data in 30 seconds." "Jump now," ordered. The Spirit of began to fold space around itself, but the Imperial fleet was ready this time. They had studied the strange radiation from the human jump drive. They knew what to look for. "They are attempting to escape," the sensor officer on the World Ender reported, "preparing to fire." "Target their engines," On commanded. "Disable them. I want prisoners this time. I want to know where they came from." 40 destroyers fired at once. The Spirit of was tough, but it was not made for this. The shields absorbed the first wave, then the second, but the third wave broke through. Explosions ripped through the ship's hull. The engine room was hit. Emergency alarms screamed. But the jump was already beginning. The ship was already folding into that strange space between spaces. Even as it burned, even as systems failed, the Spirit of vanished from normal space. It reappeared 3 light-years away, tumbling and dead in space. Fires burned in half the ship. The life support was failing. The engine room was completely destroyed, but they were alive, barely. Pulled himself from the wreckage of his chair. Around him the bridge was in ruins. Status, anyone, status. Was bleeding from a cut on her head, but she was at her console. "Message sent, Captain. Earth has the data. They know what's coming." Doctor appeared from the corridor helping who could barely walk. "We need to evacuate the engine section. It's venting atmosphere." "How many jumps do we have left?" asked. Laughed a slightly mad sound. "Jumps? Captain, we don't have engines anymore. We're dead in space." Looked around at his crew, battered, bleeding, but alive. They had done it. They had warned Earth. Now they just had to survive long enough to see if it mattered. On the World Ender, Commander On stared at the empty space where the alien ship had been. They had damaged it severely. It could not have gone far. His fleet would find it again, and next time there would be no escape. But as he gave orders to expand the search, a message came through from High Command. Leggett appeared on his screen. "Commander On, new priority orders. We have traced a quantum transmission from the alien vessel. It appears to have contacted its home world." On felt a surge of satisfaction. "Excellent, then we know where to find them." "Not exactly," said carefully. "The transmission was routed through our own network. We know the general direction, but not the exact location. It could be anywhere in a region containing 500 star systems." "Then we search them all," On said simply, "and we destroy every planet until we find the right one." The data packet from the Spirit of reached Earth at 3 in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time. It arrived at the main receiving station for deep space communications, buried under a mountain in Switzerland. The technician on duty almost missed it because the signal was using a completely unknown protocol, but the computer flagged it as urgent, and within 10 minutes, the packet was being decoded. Within an hour, every major government on Earth had been contacted. Within 3 hours, President Ara Sung was in a secure bunker beneath Seoul, staring at a screen that showed the translated message from Captain. The words were simple and terrifying. We have been discovered. Hostile Empire. Extinction protocol authorized. They are coming. Admiral Nugent stood beside the president, his face grim. He had been in the military for 30 years, rising through the ranks of what was now called the United Stellar Defense Command. He had prepared for many scenarios: asteroid strikes, rogue AI, even limited conflicts between Earth nations over space resources. But this, an entire galactic empire coming to destroy humanity, no one had prepared for this. "How long do we have?" President Sung asked quietly. "Unknown, Madam President," Admiral Jin replied. "Captain's data suggests they don't know our exact location yet. They know the general direction, but that could mean they need to search hundreds of star systems. That could take months, maybe years. Or they could get lucky and find us next week." "Yes, ma'am." President Sung stood and faced the screen that showed the faces of Earth's military commanders, joining remotely from around the world. "Ladies and, we need options. How do we defend Earth against an empire that controls most of the galaxy?" The room was silent for a moment. Finally, General Park spoke from the military base in Beijing. "Madam President, with respect, we cannot defend Earth, not in a conventional war. According to Captain's data, this empire has over 100,000 warships. We have 200 vessels, and most of those are survey ships and system defense craft. The math is clear. We lose." "Then what do you suggest?" Sung asked. "Surrender." "No," Admiral Jin said firmly. "We fight, but not their war. We fight our war on our terms." He brought up a holographic display showing Earth's fleet. They have had the same technology for thousands of years. They are powerful, yes, but they are also predictable, stagnant. They don't innovate because they don't need to. They crush everyone through sheer force. "And we're different how?" another general asked. Dr. Wu stepped forward. He was the head of Earth's quantum weapons program, a thin man with hair and sharp eyes. "We're different because we developed in isolation. While the galaxy was standardizing on ancient science, we were experimenting. We took wild chances. We tried things that didn't make sense." He pulled up technical specifications. "Our plasma core drives use dark matter as fuel. They use conventional fusion. Our quantum entanglement weapons can ignore shields because they don't travel through normal space. They have never seen anything like it. And our AI tactical networks. They consider artificial intelligence to be heretical. They banned it 3,000 years ago." Admiral Jin nodded. "The spirit of survived because its shields operated on principles they didn't understand. Its jump drive used exotic radiation that disabled their sensors. We have advantages. Small ones, yes, but real." President Sung studied the data. "So you're saying we can win?" "No," Jin said honestly. "I'm saying we can make them bleed. We can make them think twice. We can survive long enough to find allies or force a treaty, but only if we're smart about it." "What do you need?" Sung asked. "Time, resources, and permission to do things that seem crazy." Sung looked around the room, seeing the fear in their faces, but she also saw determination. Humanity had always been good at surviving against impossible odds. "You have it, all of it. Do whatever it takes." 3 weeks later, Earth's prototype left the construction yards above Mars. There was a stealth frigate, designed using every trick humanity had learned about avoiding detection. It was small, fast, and carried weapons that could punch far above its weight class. Captain stood on its bridge, his arm in a sling from his injuries. The spirit of had been found drifting by an Earth rescue ship 2 weeks ago. Half the crew was still in medical treatment, but had volunteered immediately when Admiral Jin had asked for someone to lead the first strike mission into Imperial space. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Lieutenant asked. She had also volunteered along with Doctor. They were the ones who knew the best. They had earned the right to fight back. "I'm sure," said. "They tried to kill us because we existed. Now we show them that we don't die easily." There was joined by 2 other stealth frigates. the Soul's Fury and this Revenge. Together, they jumped into Imperial space, heading for a supply depot they used to fuel their search fleets. The journey took 6 days of careful jumps, each one calculated to avoid detection. The stealth systems worked perfectly. They had no idea the human ships were even there. Commander, captain of the Soul's Fury, studied the target. The supply depot was huge, a space station the size of a small city. It had minimal defenses because it was deep in Imperial territory. No one had ever attacked this far into their space before. "All ships, this is," the captain's voice came over the secure channel. "We go in fast and hard, target the fuel reserves. Maximum damage, then we jump out. Stay together and stay safe." The 3 human ships accelerated from their hiding spot. The stealth fields held until they were right on top of the station. Then they dropped the fields and opened fire. Quantum torpedoes streaked through space, each one programmed to phase through shields and detonate inside the target. The effect was devastating. Explosions rippled through the supply depot. Fuel tanks ruptured. Docking bays collapsed. In less than 2 minutes, the station was a burning wreck. Alarms were screaming across Imperial space. The attack had been so unexpected, so impossible, that it took several minutes for anyone to react. By the time ships arrived, the human vessels were gone, having jumped away in 3 different directions. The damage assessment reached high command within hours. Leggett read the report with growing concern. They destroyed an entire supply depot. How many ships did they use? "Unknown, Leggett," the intelligence officer replied. "Our sensors never saw them coming. The station crew reported 3 small vessels, but they appeared and vanished so quickly that we have no clear data." Archon threw the data pad across the room. 3 ships, 3 tiny alien ships penetrated our territory and destroyed a major installation. What are our fleets doing? "They are searching for the alien home world," Archon said carefully. "But the region is vast. We have found several planets with technological civilizations, but none match the alien profile." "Then search faster," roared. "I want every world in that sector investigated. I want their planet found and I want it burned to ash." But they were not the only ones receiving news. On 17 different worlds within the Empire, species that had been conquered centuries ago watched secret broadcasts. The quantum virus that Doctor had developed was spreading through the Imperial network, carrying with it a simple message. "This is humanity. We didn't start this war. We just want to survive. But if an empire that controls hundreds of worlds can be hurt by one small species, what does that tell you? It tells you that they're not invincible. It tells you that resistance is possible." The message was repeated in a dozen languages, and on those 17 worlds something stirred, a feeling that had been buried for generations. Hope. Rebellion started small, a refusal to pay imperial taxes on one world, a protest against governors on another. The Empire moved to crush these uprisings, but each time they sent ships to one world, another world would rise up. It was like trying to hold water in their hands. The more they squeezed, the more slipped through their fingers. Leggett met with Archon in the late hours when the throne station was quiet. "Archon, we have a problem. The alien broadcasts have inspired unrest on 40 worlds now. If this continues—" "Then we will crush it," said. "We have done so before." "Not while also searching for their home world and defending against their attacks," argued. "Our forces are spread too thin. Every ship we send to stop a rebellion is a ship we cannot use to hunt the aliens." "What are you suggesting?" "Peace, perhaps, or at least a temporary ceasefire. We could." "No," his voice was final. "We do not negotiate with unrecorded species. We do not show weakness. We will find their world and we will end this." 3 days later, the Imperial fleet found something. A piece of wreckage from the Spirit of, floating in space where it had been damaged. The wreckage contained traces of Earth's unique element signatures. More importantly, It contained fragments of star maps in the navigation computer. Commander On transmitted the data to High Command with barely contained excitement. "We have them. The navigation maps show a yellow star, third planet from the sun. There are only 12 systems in the search area that match this description." "Then investigate them all," ordered. "Take the third armada, 500 ships, enough to destroy a planet 10 times over." Watched the orders go out, feeling a deep unease. They were committing enormous resources to destroy one species on one world. What if there were more surprises? What if the aliens were stronger than they appeared? But he said nothing. In the Empire, questioning the Archon was dangerous, so he simply watched as the largest battle fleet in Imperial history prepared to move out. On Earth, encrypted messages were coming in from Captain. "We intercepted their communications. They found wreckage from the Spirit of. They're mobilizing a huge fleet. Admiral, they're coming. I estimate 3 weeks until they arrive at Sol." Admiral Jin read the message and allowed himself a small smile. 3 weeks. That was longer than he had hoped for. Long enough to finish the preparations. Long enough to turn their home system into the biggest trap in human history. "Send a message to all commands," Jin ordered. "Operation Defiance is now active. We make our stand here for Earth." The Third Armada moved through space like a steel wave. 500 warships, arranged in perfect formation, jumping from system to system as they narrowed down the location of the alien home world. Commander On stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident that this hunt would soon be over. But the hunt was not going as planned. The humans were not hiding, they were hunting back. Commander sat in the captain's chair of the Soul's Fury, watching her tactical display. Her ship, along with 5 other stealth frigates, had been shadowing the Third Armada for a week. They stayed just outside sensor range, watching and waiting. They had no idea they were being followed. "Captain, the supply convoy is separating from the main fleet," her tactical officer reported. 3 cargo ships with 2 escort destroyers. Smiled coldly. They were predictable. Their military doctrine was thousands of years old. They did everything by the book, and humans had read that book very carefully. "All ships attack pattern Delta. Target the escorts first, then the cargo ships. Make it quick." The 6 human ships dropped their stealth fields and accelerated to attack speed. They appeared from nowhere, weapons already firing. The 2 destroyers barely had time to raise shields before quantum torpedoes punched through their hulls. Both destroyers exploded within seconds. The cargo ships tried to run, but they were slow and unarmed. The humans disabled their engines and attached explosive charges to their fuel tanks. Then they jumped away, leaving the cargo ships drifting and rigged to explode when anyone tried to salvage them. "Jump successful," the navigation officer reported. "We're clear." Marked another victory on her board. That was the 12th supply convoy they had destroyed this month. They were starting to learn that moving supplies through their own territory was becoming dangerous. Back on the flagship, Commander On received the report of the attack with growing frustration. "Another convoy lost. How are they doing this? How do they know where our supply ships will be?" His intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we believe they are monitoring our communications. They seem to know our movements before we make them." "Then change the encryption protocols." "We have, sir, 3 times. They break through within hours." On slammed his fist on the console. The humans were making fools of the Imperial fleet. Small attacks, hit and run, never a direct battle, just bleeding them slowly, taking away supplies, destroying communications relays, mining jump routes with hidden weapons. The worst part was the effect on morale. Crews were starting to fear the darkness of space. Every shadow could hide a human ship. Every supply run could be an ambush. They were the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, but they felt like prey. Leggett studied the tactical maps from his office on the throne station. The pattern was clear to him, even if Archon refused to see it. The humans were not just fighting. They were learning. Every engagement they adapted. Their tactics evolved. Their technology improved. He pulled up combat recordings from the latest skirmishes. 3 weeks ago, human weapons took 10 seconds to break through shields. Now it took 3 seconds. Their ships were getting faster. Their aim more accurate. It was like fighting an enemy that became stronger with every battle. A message came through from one of his intelligence analysts. Legate, we have concerning reports from the frontier worlds. The species there are becoming more bold in their resistance. They are using tactics similar to the human attacks. Hit and run. Guerrilla warfare. Felt cold. Are you saying the humans are sharing their methods? It appears so, sir. We intercepted several transmissions that contained tactical data and weapon specifications. The humans are not just fighting us. They are teaching others how to fight us. This changed everything. The Empire had maintained control for 10,000 years through overwhelming force and the belief that resistance was impossible. But now, one small species was proving that the Empire could be hurt, could be beaten. And that idea was spreading like fire through dry grass. Arranged a private meeting with Archon. The Archon listened to his report with a darkening expression. You are saying that this conflict is inspiring wider rebellion across the Empire? Asked. Yes, Archon. We are now dealing with uprisings on 63 worlds. We have had to pull ships away from the search for the human home world to maintain order. Then we will crush the rebellions and find the humans. We have the resources. Do we, Archon? Asked carefully. The Third Armada is losing supplies faster than they can be replaced. Fleet morale is declining. Our younger commanders are starting to question our tactics. And every day the humans remain free, more species believe they can resist us. Stood, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. What would you have me do, Legate? Negotiate with them. Admit that the Empire can be challenged. I would have you consider that we are fighting a new kind of war, one where raw power is not enough. Power is always enough, said coldly. You are dismissed. But as left, he wondered if the Archon truly believed his own words, because for the first time in Imperial history, power was not winning. Meanwhile, on Earth, the preparations continued day and night. Admiral Jin had transformed the Sol system into a massive weapons platform. The asteroid belt was now a minefield, with millions of rocks equipped with small engines and explosive charges. They could be directed remotely to ram into enemy ships at high speed. Jupiter's massive magnetic field had been turned into a weapon. A network of satellites orbited the gas giant, ready to generate an electromagnetic pulse that could disable electronics across millions of kilometers. Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, had been covered in solar collectors. They could focus the Sun's energy into powerful beams. It was a slow weapon, requiring time to charge but devastating when it fired. Mars had been turned into a shipyard, producing new vessels around the clock. Earth's industries were running at maximum capacity. Every resource was dedicated to the war effort. And throughout the system, hidden in the shadows of moons and planets, hundreds of defense platforms waited. Each one was equipped with quantum weapons, rail guns, and missile launchers. They were camouflaged to look like natural objects, invisible to sensors until they activated. Dr. Wu inspected the final preparations with satisfaction. This is good work. When they arrive, they will think they are attacking one world. They will not realize they are entering a trap. Will it be enough? Admiral Jin asked. Honestly, I don't know. They have 500 ships. We are outnumbered badly, but we have surprise on our side, and we're fighting for our home. That counts for something. In space, above Neptune, Captain floated in his pressure suit, overseeing the installation of the outer defense ring. His ship, was positioned with 20 other frigates at the edge of the Sol system. They would be the first to engage the enemy, buying time for Earth to activate its defenses. "Captain, incoming message from Admiral Jin," Lieutenant reported. "The Third Armada has been detected. They will arrive at Sol in 72 hours. Felt his heartbeat quicken. 72 hours, 3 days, then everything would be decided. Earth would survive or Earth would die. He opened a channel to his crew. "This is Captain, you all know what is coming. You all know the odds, but I want you to remember something. We are not soldiers. We are scientists, engineers, explorers. We never wanted this fight, but it came to us anyway." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "In 3 days, the most powerful fleet in the galaxy will arrive here. They will expect us to be afraid, to surrender, to beg for mercy. Instead, we are going to show them what humans do when someone tries to destroy their home. We fight, we adapt, we survive." The crew responded with determination in their voices. They were afraid, yes, but they were also angry. They had attacked them without provocation, had tried to exterminate their entire species for the crime of existing. Now it was time to make them pay for that mistake. On the throne station, Archon received confirmation that the Third Armada had identified the human home world, a small yellow star with a blue-green planet third from the sun. The planet was covered in oceans and had a single large moon. Preliminary scans showed a population of 10 billion, a single home world, no colonies, no defense fleets waiting in nearby systems. It would be easy, 500 ships against one planet. The battle would be over in hours. Opened a channel to Commander on. "Commander, you have permission to proceed. Destroy their world. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Empire." On saluted, "It will be done, Archon." The Third Armada jumped toward Earth, confident in their power. They had destroyed planets before. This would be no different. But as Leggett watched them go, he felt a deep sense of unease. The humans had surprised them at every turn. They had survived when they should have died. They had fought when they should have surrendered. What if they had one more surprise waiting? He pulled up all the combat data from human encounters. He studied their tactics, their technology, their way of thinking, and slowly a picture formed in his mind. The humans were not stronger than the Empire, but they were smarter, more creative, more desperate. And desperate people, fighting for their survival, were the most dangerous enemies of all. Sent a priority message to On. "Commander, proceed with extreme caution. Do not underestimate the humans. They have proven to be far more dangerous than expected." The reply came back quickly. "Understood, Leggett, but caution is not needed. We have 500 ships. They have one planet. The math is simple." Closed the message and sat in silence. The math was simple, yes, but wars were not won by math alone. They were won by will, by innovation, by the determination to survive at any cost. And from everything he had seen, humans had more of those qualities than any species he had ever encountered. The Third Armada emerged from their final jump at the edge of the Sol system. 500 warships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Commander On stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display with satisfaction. The human home world hung in space like a blue jewel, undefended and vulnerable. "All ships advance to attack formation," On ordered. "Prepare to fire on my command." But something was wrong. The sensor officer's hands moved quickly over his console, confusion on his face. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual readings throughout the system, energy signatures that don't match natural phenomena." "Explain," On demanded. "Sir, it's almost like the entire system has been weaponized. I'm seeing power sources on multiple moons, hidden among the asteroids, even on some of the planets themselves." Before On could respond, every communication channel suddenly activated. A human voice spoke, clear and calm. It was Admiral Najin speaking from Earth. "Attention fleet. This is Admiral Najin of the United Stellar Defense Command. You have entered our home system with hostile intent. You have attacked our people without provocation. You have declared your intention to exterminate our species. We did not start this war, but we will finish it. You are not in our system. You are in our trap. On laughed. A trap. We have 500 ships. What can you possibly do against such power? Admiral Jin's voice remained calm. You're about to find out. All defense platforms activate. Throughout the Sol system, hundreds of objects that had appeared to be asteroids, debris, or natural moons suddenly came to life. Their camouflage fields dropped, revealing weapons platforms, rail guns, missile batteries, quantum torpedo launchers, all of them aimed at the fleet. All ships evasive action, unshouted, but it was too late. The first wave of attacks came from the asteroid belt. Millions of small rocks, each equipped with simple engines and explosive charges, began accelerating toward the fleet. They moved in swarms, too many to shoot down, too small to detect until they were right on top of the ships. The asteroids hit like a storm of bullets. Shields could stop the first dozen or the first 100, but not the first 1,000. Ships throughout the fleet began taking damage. Small explosions rippled across hulls. Sensors were blinded. Weapons systems were disabled. Return fire, unordered. Destroy those platforms. The fleet opened fire, their massive weapons tearing through space. Several defense platforms were destroyed immediately, but for every platform that fell, 10 more activated. The humans had hidden weapons everywhere, and now they were all firing at once. From Earth's moon, massive rail guns fired solid metal slugs the size of buildings. They traveled at a fraction of the speed of light, carrying kinetic energy that could shatter a ship's shields in one hit. 3 cruisers exploded in the first salvo. Captain watched from the position behind Neptune with the rest of Earth's mobile fleet. All ships now hit them from behind. 20 human frigates dropped their stealth fields and accelerated into the battle. They were tiny compared to the massive dreadnoughts, but their quantum weapons ignored shields and their speed made them hard to target. They darted through the Imperial formation like sharks, firing torpedoes that phased through armor and exploded inside enemy ships. The formation, so perfect and organized, began to fall apart. Ships tried to turn to face the human frigates, but that exposed them to fire from the defense platforms. When they focused on the platforms, the frigates attacked. When they tried to advance toward Earth, the asteroid swarm grew thicker. Commander On realized with growing horror that he was not commanding a battle. He was caught in a kill zone. All ships withdraw to safe distance. We need to regroup. But the humans had planned for that too. As the fleet tried to pull back, Jupiter's weapon system activated. The massive satellites orbiting the gas giant generated an electromagnetic pulse that washed across the system. Ships, which relied heavily on electronic systems, suddenly found their sensors scrambled, their targeting computers offline, their communications filled with static. In the confusion, more human ships appeared. These were not frigates but small attack craft, barely larger than fighters. They carried suicide missiles, and their pilots aimed for the largest targets. Dreadnoughts, already damaged by the earlier attacks, found themselves swarmed by dozens of small craft. Some were shot down, but many got through. Explosions bloomed along the hulls of the massive warships. On Earth, President Ara Sung watched the battle on the main display screen. The tactical map showed ships throughout the system, many damaged, many destroyed, but they were still here, still fighting, still dangerous. Admiral status report, she requested. Admiral Jin studied the data flowing in from all sectors. We've destroyed or disabled approximately 150 enemy ships, but we've lost 40% of our defense platforms and 8 frigates. If this continues much longer, they'll break through our defenses. What do you need? Time, Madam President, just a little more time. On Mercury, the solar collectors had been charging for hours. Dr. Wu monitored the power levels, waiting for the right moment. The weapon could only fire once. After that, the collectors would burn out from the heat. It had to count. Dr. Wu, this is Admiral Jin. The flagship is moving toward Earth. We need that solar beam now. Understood, Admiral. Targeting now. The collectors focused, gathering the raw power of the sun itself. Then they released it in a single, concentrated beam. The light was so bright it could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. It crossed the distance to the flagship in seconds. The beam hit the world ender directly. The shields held for a moment, then overloaded. The beam punched through the armor like paper. It burned through deck after deck, vaporizing everything in its path. Commander On had time for one last thought before the bridge exploded around him. They had underestimated the humans. That mistake had cost them everything. The world ender broke apart, its massive hull torn in half by internal explosions. The destruction of the flagship sent shock waves through the fleet. Ships began to hesitate. Formations fell apart completely. Some captains tried to press the attack. Others began moving toward the edge of the system, preparing to retreat. Captain saw the confusion and acted. All ships, final push. Hit them with everything we have. The human fleet, damaged but still fighting, launched one last coordinated attack. Every remaining torpedo, every missile, every rail gun slug. They threw everything at the ships, not giving them time to recover or reorganize. The battle raged for another hour. Ships on both sides were destroyed. Space was filled with debris and expanding clouds of atmosphere from ruptured hulls. But slowly, inevitably, the fleet began to break. The remaining Imperial ships, now numbering less than 300, finally retreated. They jumped away in scattered groups, abandoning the battle. Some were so damaged they could barely maintain their shields. Others jumped to random coordinates, just trying to escape the killing field that Sol had become. On Earth, alarms finally went silent. The tactical display showed empty space where the fleet had been. Only wreckage remained. Admiral Jin allowed himself to breathe for the first time in hours. Status of all sectors. Did we stop them? Reports came in from across the system. The battle was over. Earth had survived, but the cost had been high. 60% of the defense platforms destroyed, 15 ships lost, thousands of casualties. But they had won. Against 500 warships, humanity had won. President Sung addressed the world. People of Earth, today we were attacked by an empire that believed we should not exist. They came to our home with overwhelming force, intending to destroy us completely. But they learned something today. They learned that humans do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight for our right to survive. She paused, her voice strong. This war is not over. The empire is vast and powerful, but today we proved that they can be beaten. Today we showed the galaxy that there is another way. In space, Captain received a transmission. It was coming from Imperial space, but the voice was not. It was from one of the subject species, one of the worlds that had risen in rebellion. Humanity, this is the free people of, we saw what you did. We saw you defeat the empire. You have given us hope. We are rising against our oppressors. Thank you for showing us that freedom is possible. Similar messages came in from dozens of worlds. The battle had been broadcast across the Imperial Quantum Network. Everyone had seen it. The invincible empire, defeated by a single world that refused to die. On the throne station, Archon sat in silence, staring at the reports. 200 ships lost. The Third Armada destroyed. And worst of all, rebellions were now exploding across 50 systems. The empire was fracturing. Legate entered quietly. Archon, the council is demanding answers. The other legates are calling for your removal. Laughed bitterly. So the humans have destroyed more than ships. They have destroyed my authority. They have destroyed the myth of imperial invincibility, corrected. For 10,000 years, we maintained control through fear and overwhelming force. But the humans proved that determination and intelligence can overcome raw power. "So what now?" asked. "Do we gather another fleet, 10,000 ships, 20,000?" "No," said firmly. "Now we adapt or we die. The humans are not our enemy. They are a mirror showing us our own weakness. We must change or the empire will fall." Looked at him for a long moment, then he stood. "Very well, Legate, you wanted diplomacy, you have it. Open communications with Earth, propose a ceasefire. Let us see if these humans are as wise as they are strong." The message reached Earth 3 days later. Admiral Jin brought it to President Sung along with the translation. They were requesting negotiations, not surrender, not even peace yet, but negotiations, a first step. "What do you think?" Sung asked. "I think they're finally starting to understand," Jin replied. "We didn't beat them with bigger guns or more ships. We beat them with ideas, with creativity, with the will to survive. And now maybe they want to learn from us. Should we trust them? No, but we should talk to them, because the alternative is more war. And even if we could win the next battle, how many more can we survive?" President Sung approved the negotiations. A neutral location was chosen. A team of diplomats was selected. But as a precaution, Earth continued building ships, continued improving weapons, continued preparing for the possibility that the peace would fail. Captain stood on the bridge of the now being repaired in orbit above Mars. He looked out at Earth, the blue planet that had been seconds away from destruction, his home, his family's home, humanity's home. Lieutenant approached him. "Captain, there's a message for you from the Imperial Legate." Opened the message. It was text only, translated into English. "Captain, I have reviewed all combat data from our encounters. I have studied your tactics, your technology, your methods. I have one question for you. How did a single species, alone and isolated, become so formidable?" Thought about the question for a long time. Then he typed a reply. "Legate, we became formidable because we had to. You tried to destroy us for existing. You gave us no choice but to be strong. Perhaps if you had tried talking to us first, we could have been friends instead of enemies. Remember that the next time you discover an unrecorded species." He sent the message and turned back to the window. Below him, Earth turned slowly in space. Humanity had survived its first contact with a galactic empire. They had been tested and found themselves capable of defending their home. But the real test would come next. Could humans take that strength and use it to build something better? Could they show the galaxy that there was a way to coexist without domination? Time would tell, but for now Earth was safe. Humanity endured, and the galaxy had just learned a very important lesson. You can destroy a species' ships, you can attack their worlds, but you cannot kill the human will to survive. Because that had never been in any records. And now, the galaxy would have to rewrite everything they thought they knew.